Nobody even likes this guy. What's he got? He just wears leather and talks with a funny voice. Fine, I'll make the Batman. This is Groundeffected. My name is your dad, and welcome to Making a Batman. For the longest time, I've been wanting to make a fabric cape on a character that I've printed. A lot of the models that I used to collect a couple of years ago were Hot Toys, and all of their models are made with a model, and they have clothes that are actually sewn and made by a person. They're little bitty clothes, but they're still clothes, and it's really cool. So I wanted to make something out of fabric just so that I could see what it's like. This video shows you how I made Batman, and Batman has a fabric cape. Hopefully you like this video, and if you do, leave some likes and words. That's what you have to do, words and likes and shares with your grands. You know the drill. Let's watch the video. Hopefully you like. I forgot to say, this Batman was made by 3D Berserk. B3 Berserk. I will leave a link for B3 Berserk in the description. Obviously, if you like Batman and you want this Batman, go look in the description. Now, before I start painting this guy, I want to work on his cape. I could have printed the cape, but in this case, I'm going to use fabric. I went to the local hobby store, craft store, whatever you want to call it, and I grabbed a piece of fabric, black fabric, because Batman has a black cape, and I used scissors. Unfortunately, my finger scissors didn't work for this, so don't use those. But these last sharp scissors actually did the job perfectly fine. I grabbed it in a bunch and I cut it off just to get the rough shape. This kind of gives me almost a circle, it's just very uneven. So I used a pencil crayon and I just marked out a circular shape. Semicircular? It's semicircular. And then I added more semicircles around the bottom of that. This is to make the cool batwing shaped thing of the thing. This time, before I used my finger scissors, I used the stapler to staple this. A person doing real sewing would probably use pins. I'm not a person doing real sewing, I'm just a guy doing hobbies. And so the staple is going to keep it in place so that I can cut this thing very easily with my sharp metal scissors and not my finger ones. I then take out the staples so that I can open it up and see what kind of a monstrosity I've cut out of this sheet. I did this in real time. I didn't know what I was doing. It could have worked, it could have not worked. It seems to have worked. Congratulations, me. Now it's time to put in some magnets onto this bad boy. And to be honest, I just glued the whole model together because it was just something I was doing for a video to show you guys how I do it. Also, I wanted to just try and make a cape out of fabric, and that's really the true reason why I made it, but don't tell anyone, it's for a video for you guys. Now, when you're doing magnets, one of the best things you can do before that epoxy dries is to put a piece of cling film and put the parts together. If you have to hold them, you have to hold them, but luckily in this case, they just kind of stay together without holding them, which is great. This will stop these parts gluing themselves together, and you can take it apart later, and you've saved yourself so much time. Time to work on this dude's skin. I'm going to use a general skin tone set that I always use, which is Fairy Flesh Set by Nocturna from Vallejo. I got mine at Groundeffected Studios. I start out with the reddish flesh and I put that as a base tone. I leave quite a bit of black on this one because I want to actually make a bit of a dark shadow on his chin for stubble. Is that what it's called? Maybe? I don't know. That's just what I felt like doing. I did it like that. I used some washes and scooped them out because you don't want to leave them in. It looks terrible if you leave them in. There is a red wash that I'm using here to create the blood corpuscles underneath the skin. And for that, I actually use a transparent red. I know I didn't show it, but I will do a video very soon about this new skin tone and how I've been doing it recently. I sprayed some highlights onto the top just to give a bit more shape and structure to the face so it wasn't flat. And you can see those pouty lips looking super pouty. Now for in his eyes, I needed to make sure they were darker. At first, I'm just going to spray them with a little bit of a purple mixed with black just to give them a richer, darker color. I don't want to put black straight away, but I am going to use black Nuln Oil, which is basically a black wash, and I'm going to put that into all the recesses of the eye. This is just going to help darken it up for later. Later on, I came back and I sprayed a very thin black into the eyes just to create the depth of that darkness of the makeup. Over his lips, I used Magos Purple. This will dye or tint the color that's underneath it, and it helps to create a very natural looking lips. For his eyes, I painted black first, and I used this to shape the main shape of the eyes. This gives me the rough overall outline of the eyeball, and then I'm going to use white to shape the inside of the eye, leaving black around the outside, almost outlining everything and giving some structure to my eye. For the eyes, I'm just going to paint little black irises, and I'm going to put a white dot on them just because these eyes are in a very small space and it's really difficult to do this, especially at this scale. His eyes are super small, so a black dot with a white dot over the top kind of gives the illusion that you painted the eyes and you don't really have to. I used a bit of Null Oil on the end of my brush and dabbed that over his chin, and I dabbed a lot of that off again, especially on the highlight areas, just to dirty up his chin area to kind of look a bit like a 5 o'clock shadow. I then slapped a load of liquid mask all over his face to hide all that skin tone so that I could paint back the suit color and essentially work on the highlights of the rest of the suit. I use a rubber tip sculpting tool for this because it's easier to clean up when you're done, and once I had finished doing that, I sprayed it solid black to give it a base coat, and now we're back to working on the suit of the entire model. Almost like I can forget that I ever did the skin tones. And I'm going to spray a mixture of blue with black over the highlights. This is going to be kept very simple. I want this video to help people to see that you don't have to do too much with your airbrush. You don't have to be a master of painting. You can do super simple things and still create a really good looking model just with simple techniques. Using some gloss mixed into my black, I painted over a certain few of the parts on the armor just so that they stand out and look different. I painted white over the belt, and the reason that I did this is because I want that belt to be yellow, and yellow does not ever cover black. It's impossible, and even if you did manage to do it, it would go green before it went yellow, and unfortunately you have to do white first. I did 2 layers of white, let it dry, and then I sloshed on a load of yellow over the top of that. Once that had all dried and I knew everything was ready to go, I could take off the mask from old Batty's face. Carefully using my knife, I'm going to go around the edges just to trim off any bits that kind of stand out from the paint, because usually it pulls off a little bit of a weird, ugly piece that you have to clean it up. It's the way it is with masks. Paint the symbol white first because I need it to go yellow, and once I've let that dry, I just painted yellow in it. This is contrast imperial yellow, and it's just freaking, oh my god, it's yellow. It's proper yellow. And using a little bit of gloss mixed with black again, I'm going to now paint the symbols on his chest, and I'm also going to use that for the base as well, but we'll start out with the symbol on his chest, and very carefully I'm going to go up to the edges, not going over the edges. I'm going to just do the top layer first, then I'm going to go in and carve the edges of it to make sure it's crispy clean and tidy. Almost the same technique though on the base. I'm going to do this with slightly larger brush, and I'm just going to be very carefully doing probably 2 layers of this. It just depends on what you've put down as your base coat. I sprayed mine gold, and later on I sprayed over the top of it with a clear coat, which kind of messed up the gold, but it softened it so it wasn't so bright. Oh well, I did what I did. I even broke the ear on the bat, so don't hate me. After I was done with the symbols, I added a little bit of wash around the base just to give it a bit more grime so that it wasn't so crispy clean, and that's where I called this model done.
I hope that you managed to get something in this video, doesn't matter what it is, but something might have helped you in your modeling and hobby career of sorts. If you did, make sure to leave a like, obviously that helps the channel, and if you want to support the channel even more, watch another video, share it with your gran, or join the Patreon. I need you to join the Patreon to help me keep these lights blinding my eyeballs and to help make more videos. I shouldn't have looked directly at that one, it's hurting my eyes. We are now at the end of the video. This is the best part. Everybody waits for this part. If you've skipped anything, this is the part you were skipping too. If you didn't like anything you saw in my video, please f*** off. Imagine if I timed a fart to go at the exact same time and then I didn't have to use a dolphin. That'd be amazing.